welcome to week 2, part 1. We're going to deal with 4 exercises for part 1. So we'll start with exercise 1 for week 2, part 1 here. The question is to create an app that calculates the amount based on a type of customer and subtotal amount. If the customer is a type R, the subtotal is greater than 250, the discount is 25%. If the subtotal is greater than 100 or less than 250, discount is 10%, and the subtotal is less than 100, discount is 0%. If the customer is a type C, then the subtotal is greater than 250, the discount is 30%. The subtotal is less than 250, the discount is 20%. The discount percent should display the percent sign. Discounted amount and total should display a dollar sign. So let's get into this. So we have here a console application. So we're going to start with a new project, console app, just like last time. We're going to call this W2 P1 for part 1, and then exercise 1. I'm going to give it a home. And make sure place solution and project same directory is checked. We have here .NET version 4.7.2 like last time. Hit create. Alright, so I'll just increase the font size so it's easier for you guys to see. And let's get into it. So first thing first, we'll just ask the user what type of customer they're dealing with. So we'll say console .writeLine or .write, and we'll say enter customer type, and in brackets R or C, colon there. Now we'll get the customer type back by saying char, so we'll use a char and say customer type equals console dot readline. Now they could be using a lowercase c or an uppercase c or lowercase r, uppercase r. Just to be friendly, let's convert everything to uppercase. So we're going to read the line, get the information. We can do a to upper, and that'll uppercase it. Now we only want index 0. So like in a previous exercise we talked about, it's a character. We only want the first character in the string. They could actually type out the word customer. They could type out the word returning customer, whatever it is that they want to type out, but we just want to grab that first character. So R or C. All right. Now we'll ask the user to enter a subtotal. So we'll say console.write. All right. Yeah, right. We'll say enter subtotal. So we'll say double subtotal is equal to. Now we're going to do a console.readline, but we know that's a string. We want to convert it to a double, so we'll just put this inside a double dot parse. Alright, so we have our subtotal. Now we've got to figure out the percent and then finally calculate the output here. So first thing is, let's just say double, call it discount percent equals 0.0, and then we'll figure out the customer type. So we'll use a switch statement this time around by saying switch customer type. Alright, so now we'll say case R, and then inside of that we'll say if subtotal is greater than or equal to 250, then discount percent is equal to 0.25. Else if, and we'll say subtotal is greater than or equal to 100, and subtotal is less than 250, then discount percent is equal to 0.1, break. All right, so we got our R customer. Now let's do the C customer. So we'll say case C, and we'll say if subtotal is greater than or equal to 250, then we'll say discount percent is equal to 0.3, else discount percent is equal to 0.2. And we'll break that as well. Okay. Now, if they didn't type R or they didn't type C, then we have a invalid entry. So let's deal with that as well by saying default. Do a console.writeLine. Invalid customer type. Try again. All right. Now let's output our, oh, forgot the break. Now outside of the switch, let's output the results here. So we'll say double discount amount is equal to subtotal times discount percent. Say double total is equal to subtotal minus discount amount. So we have our numbers. Time to print it out. Now we're going to take advantage of adding percents and dollar signs. So let's use that. Instead of just typing out the values directly, what we're going to say is console.writeLine. We'll say discount percent, and then plus. Now here's the thing. We're going to say discount percent dot toString, and inside of that we'll say P1 to indicate a percentage there. Then we'll do a console.writeLine, and we'll say discounted amount plus, and then discount dot toString for C for currency. All right. Now total. Console.writeLine. We'll say total plus, and then total dot toString, again currency. And now we don't want this thing to go away, so we'll just do a console.read key. All right. So the bread and butter here for this exercise is printing out percentages and currency without having to add in the characters ourselves. So let's give this a run. All right, let's bring it over. So customer R, customer C. I'll just go with customer C here. Enter a subtotal of 350. Now you'll see here we have our percent sign. So discount percent was 30%. Discounted amount was $105 total 245. All right, let's do a R customer. So we'll say R, enter subtotal of 560. So our discounted percent was 25%. Our discounted amount was 140. Total 420. Let's do some garbage input. All right, and we'll say Z. But it still asks us for an input, so we'll say 300. Invalid customer, try again, 0, 0, total is still 300. All right, so that's exercise 1. All right, so let's now move on to exercise 2. So I'm going to do a Control-Shift-N to kill this. And we'll leave that there. Before we get into our second exercise, let's just review what this second exercise is asking us. So it's saying create an app that calculates future value of investment. To calculate the future value, the user must enter the monthly investment amount, the yearly interest rate, the number of years the investment will be made, and we'll just use simple interest here for our calculation. So let's jump right into it. We're going to use a console app again. I'm going to call it W2P1 for part 1, call it exercise 2, and give it my location, same as before. So under week 2, create a new solution, place solution and project same directory, hit next. Let's get our fresh project there. All right, so just add a few blank spaces for our main and jump right into writing this program. So first thing we want to do is ask the user for their monthly investment. So we'll say console.write, and we'll say enter monthly investment. All right, we'll do a read from the user. So we'll say double monthly invest is equal to double.parse for console.readline. Now let's ask the user for their interest rate, their yearly interest rate. So console.write, enter yearly interest rate. All right, and we'll say double yearly interest is equal to double.parse for console.readline. All right, so we got our monthly investment. We have our yearly rate at this point. How many years? So we'll say console.write. We'll say enter. Oops, autocomplete is not always your best friend there. So we'll say enter number of years. All right, and we'll say double, or actually no, it's an int. So int number of years is equal to int.parse for console.readline. All right, so we have all 3 pieces of input that we need to do this calculation. Now, first thing we need to do is convert the yearly interest rate into a monthly interest rate. So what we're going to do is we're assuming that the person entered like 1%, 2%, and really we need it to be like 0.01, 0.02. We also need to divide it by 12 months. So we'll say double monthly interest is equal to yearly interest divided by 12 months divided by 100%. All right, so we now have our monthly interest rates. Now I want to convert it to months as well, because compounded monthly here. So we're going to say int number of months is equal to years, number of years that is, divided by, times 12. All right, so we now have our numbers. We're ready to do the calculation here. Our final number that we need is future value. So we'll just say double future value, set it equal to 0.0. Now, in a for loop, we'll just say for int I equals 0, I is less than number of months, I plus plus. And we'll say future value is equal to future value plus monthly investment or monthly invest, and then outside of that times 1 plus monthly interest. Maybe I'll retype monthly invest just to make it happy. Well, of course, I didn't spell monthly invest properly, so that's why it was complaining. In fact, let's just fix it. So monthly invest. So let's try it again. Monthly invest. There. All right, so that's our calculation. So let's output the result. It's going to be a currency again. So we'll do a console.write line saying future value. And in fact, if you want to give it an extra blank line just to make it stand out, you can always do a /n. So let's just do it for kicks here. And we'll have a space after our colon for readability. Plus, and then we want to print out future value, but we want it to be a currency, so we want the $sign. So we'll just add in a toString, adding in C for currency. All right, now we don't want this thing to disappear on us right away, so we'll just say console.read key. All right, that's our code. Let's give it a run. All right, what's my monthly investment going to be? Let's just say $200 a month. Yearly interest rate, let's say it's 3%. Number of years, let's say we're going to do this for 8 years. Now, future value at $200 a month for 3 years becomes $21,723.65. That's how much we're going to have based on the interest, number of years, all done monthly. So that's our future value calculation for exercise 2. Now let's move on to exercise 3. All right, so let's just do a Control-Shift-N. Bring up our new project window. Before we get into creating the project again, just like last time, let's go over exercise 3. Exercise 3 is a body mass index calculator. So BMI is a way for tracking health of a person. Its calculation formula is weight in kilograms divided by height in meters squared. So we're going to ask the user for weight in kilograms, height in meters, calculate the BMI, but also display, based on Health Canada's website, the user's classification based on their BMI. So underweight, normal weight, overweight, and so on. All right, so let's jump into it. What we're going to do is choose a console app again, and I'm going to call it W2P1 exercise 3. Give it its location and place solution same directory, hit create. All right, we have our basic main there. So let's jump right into it. All right, first of all, let's just define all the variables we're going to need. We're going to say double weight, double height, double BMI. Now let's ask the user for their weight and their height. So we'll say console dot right line. We'll say enter weight in kg. And we'll say weight equals double dot parse for console dot read line. Now let's ask the user for their height. So we'll say console dot right line, enter height in meters. And we'll say height equals double dot parse for console dot read line. All right, so now we have our weight and height. Now we need to calculate the BMI. So BMI is equal to weight divided by height squared. So we'll say math.pow. Remember the math class in Java? Well, it exists here in C# as well. Before I finish POW, you can see all of the conventional options there. You can scroll through and see whichever math function you want to use. I'm going to use POW, math.pow for height and 2.0, so height squared. All right, so I now have my BMI. And I can go ahead and write out the output and say console.writeLine and say your BMI is, and then plus and BMI. All right, but now let's find out the classification of the person whose information you're entering. So we'll say if BMI is less than 18.5, then we'll do a console.writeLine for, we'll say underweight. We'll say else if BMI is greater than or equal to 18.5 and BMI is less than or equal to 24.9, then we'll say console.writeLine for normal weight. Now we'll say else if BMI is greater than or equal to 25 and BMI is less than or equal to 29.9. Then we'll say console.writeLine for overweight. We'll say else if BMI is greater than or equal to 30 and BMI is less than or equal to 34.9, then console.writeLine for obese class 1. Else if BMI is greater than or equal to 35 and BMI is less than or equal to 39.9, then console.writeLine for obese class 2. Else, it's basically over 40. So we'll say console.writeLine for obese class 3. All right, so we have here a general if statement with the different classifications. Now there is something that can go wrong, of course. Like what if something calculates down to like 24.95, right? Where do we sit, right? It'll end up going to obese class 3. Or same idea between like 29.95 or something. So there, it's not perfect. I mean, you could put in like some 9s there, like an extra 9 if you really wanted to be precise, just in case. You could try that. Uh, or you can add another level of 9. It's totally up to you. But for now, I think we have enough. We want to put in our console.read key just to make sure we don't lose our display here. And that's our program for calculating BMI. So let's give it a run. All right, enter a weight in kilograms. Let's say about 110 kilograms. Height, let's say 2 meters. Hit enter, and BMI is 27.5. So it's considering it as overweight. All right, we could run it again. And we can put in a weight in kilograms of, let's say, 75 kilos. Height in meters, let's say 1.5. Obese class 1, because the BMI is that. All right, and so you have yourself a simple BMI calculator. And that is exercise 3. Let's move on to the final exercise, which is exercise 4, right now. So let's start with the Control-Shift-N to open up a new console project. We'll hit console app before we do. Let's just recap what the exercise is all about. It's just a simple C# app, uses looping to display a table of values where n is from 1 to 5. We're going to display 10n, 100n, and 1000n. So very simple application there. So let's go ahead and jump into it with a console app. We'll call this W2P1 exercise 4. And location, we'll say production week 2, check mark the solution, hit create. And we have here our main. So let's just jump right into it. Looks like this is a similar application to what we did for week 1, but let's do it again anyway. Practice is always good. We'll say console.writeLine, and we'll display our headings. So we're going to have n, do a /t for tab for 10n, do another /tab for 100n, and finally another /t for 1000n. All right, so that's our heading. Now, let's do a loop. Say for int I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. All right. Now let's display our values for 10, 100, and 1000 by saying int 10 equals 10 times I, int 100 is equal to 100 times I, int 1000 is equal to 1000 times I. So we got our 3 numbers there. Let's go ahead and print that to the console by saying console.writeLine for, and we'll say I, oops, no quotes there, just I directly. Then we'll do a plus, open up some quotes and say /t, do a plus for 10, and then a plus for another /t, then do a plus for 100, do a plus with a /t again, and then plus 1000. Right? And outside of that, outside of the for loop, we'll just do a console.read key. Just get that out of the way, and there you go. That's the application. Simple as that. Let's give it a run. And that's the output. Just a small, simple, silly little app just to display 10n, 100n, and 1000n, just to end off our part 1 for the week 2 exercises. So this completes that. Now our next step is to move on to the lecture for week 2 part 2. And then from there we'll continue on with the exercises for week 2 part 2 from there.